program, the radio, its management staff, or its parent company, iHeartMedia.
Doo-doo. Doo-doo.
He served at the Pentagon as an Army JAG. He
Yeah.
graduated from Notre Dame and has
Uh-huh.
2 law degrees from Boston University and
Because
Georgetown
one is just
University.
not enough.
He's been
That's
practicing
right.
law for over 30 years. He's your family's personal attorney. It's time for the David Carrier
What,
Show.
you want an impersonal attorney? Hello, and welcome to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. Happy Easter. It is the Easter edition of the David Carrier Show. So there's going to be a rebirth of knowledge, right? We're going to resurrect some old ideas that have served us well in the past, which we seem to be discarding. Don't want to do that. But yeah, it's Easter Sunday. So welcome. That means you can call us at 616-774-2424. That's 616-774-2424 for answers as sweet as a chocolate Easter egg, but not nearly as fattening. 616-774-2424. You know, in the every once in a while you hear news that's too good to check. You know what I mean? It's like, oh man, that is just too spot on. I wish I had I better not check that one because if it isn't true, I'm going to be disappointed. And I felt that way about the rules at the for our National Easter Egg Roll. This is a event that they do every Easter at the White House, and the story was that they said no to religious iconography on the eggs. You can't decorate your eggs apparently in a religious manner. Now, get this. This is for the Easter egg roll. Okay, this is the I don't know, it's the big the furry rodent where I know a rabbit's not a rodent and something else, but anyway, it's what do you think? It's a combination of stupidity, in my opinion, which is of course correct, but it's a combination of stupidity and evil. Okay. I understand. I understand the BS. We're being inclusive. Excuse me, it's Easter. You know what Easter is? Okay, in the Christian tradition, Christian religions, this is the resurrection of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. That's what it is. Okay, he spent yesterday, Holy Saturday, bringing the souls out of hell and all the rest of that stuff, getting Socrates and everybody else, and I mean, there's a theology to it. Okay, and what they've done is reduced it to what? Let's sell a bunch of chocolates and whatnot. And it's like, are they see, this is the stupidity part. The egg, the rabbit, okay, these are pre-Christian symbols. Pre-Christian symbols, yes, indeed, but the Acts of the Apostles instruct the apostles to go out and don't destroy the old ways, but adopt them, give them new meaning, resurrect them, new life, like that, right? So it's so basic, but there you have it. It's like, oh, you can't have religious symbols on your eggs. The egg is a religious symbol. Rebirth, new life. Okay. Hello. You take this egg, which is inanimate, blah, blah, blah. I mean, this is the iconography of it, right? And now it's new life. A chick comes out. Oh, new life. There's all kinds of lessons in the chick coming out of the egg, right? And the same way with the bunny. Why do you think the bunny? Why the rabbit? I mean, are we that far removed from nature and reality that we forgot why rabbits are a symbol of fertility and whatnot? Huh? Have we forgotten about that? Right? Why the bunny? Why the white bunny? Right? It's just like, okay, so it's stupid because you're taking religious iconography, rabbits and eggs and rebirth and all the rest of this stuff. You're denying it. All right, that's stupid. Because you don't realize. Oh, if you don't put a cross on it, I guess then it's not religious. Huh? What? Stupid. But it's also evil because it's an attempt to purposefully deny what it's really all about. See, when you have a um, a ceremony with all the meaning stripped out of it, right? Right? It's just a husk. It's a skin suit. You know what I mean? It's like you took this beautiful thing, you ripped the guts out of it. Now you're wearing it as a skin suit, okay? And you're pretending that it's still there, right? Okay, you put a bear, kill a bear, all right? Shoot a bear, right? And then put a bear skin on and walk around with it, okay? You're not a bear, all right? You're not a bear. Nobody's even fooled. Nobody even thinks, but oh, well, maybe you fool somebody, I guess, okay? And that's the evil part of it. That's evil. That's bad. That's objectively bad, evil, right? It's stupid because you're taking religious icons and you're saying, oh well, you can't paint them this way, so therefore they're not religious. Yeah, but the only meaning that Easter eggs and Easter bunny has is in that context, right? I mean, stupid, but then also evil because then it denies, then it denies the reality and more evil. Last week, but I did check that out. That is true, apparently. That was one of those stories too good to. I would just, I was reading that. I was like, uh, you know, I hope this isn't true. One side of you is like, gee, I hope this isn't true. Oh, I hope we haven't sunk that far. And then it's like, well, but it's almost too good. Well, then I checked it out and yeah, sure enough. Also on the day that, people who are uncertain about their gender and whatnot, this is the day of celebration for those people. We recognize how brave they are, not to be able to figure out who they are by looking between their legs. Yeah, well, there you go. Okay. And that's the White House proclamation. Easter Sunday is the day. And they announced it on Good Friday. If that's not a slap in the face, if that's not evil, I don't know. I'm not quite sure what is. What is? And then we have the president of Mexico, and you're wondering, what the hell has this got to do with estate planning, elder law, real estate, and business law? Well, I'll tell you what it has to do with it. This is all governmental type stuff, okay? And the whole point of what we do here is to help you realize your American dream, okay? Because we live in a nation of rules. We live in a nation of laws. And in my career, it's been 40 years I've been at this, 42 years I've been at this. It's like things have changed, okay? The infiltration of the government into every aspect. Gosh, you know and culturally as well, and affecting the culture in a very negative, in my opinion, in a very my opinion, because it's the right opinion, a very very negative way, right? So the president of Mexico comes over and they say, hey, president of Mexico, you guys are bad because you're letting all these drugs into our country. And president of Mexico says, wait a minute, they aren't coming. These drugs are not coming over. Yeah, we're sending the gang members over. Yeah, that's true. But we're not sending the drugs over with these people. These people aren't packing them in. Okay, these are going through the ports of entry. What? Yeah, it's like you guys aren't inspecting the trucks and what have you. They're going through the main ports of entry. Oh, and by the way, we're not the only place that makes the fentanyl, which kills hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of Americans. We're not the only ones doing that. Oh, and by the way, says the president of Mexico, just to just to grind salt into the wound, he says, you know why we don't have a drug problem? Because the cartels won't allow it. They're running the whole government and they'll kill anybody who uses drugs. No, says he. That could be part of the problem, part of the way Mexico doesn't have a drug problem. Because the cartels won't allow it, right? But the other thing is, he's like, we haven't given up on our traditions. All right. We still believe in the family. We still go to church. We still have all the rest of this stuff. Okay. So we're not looking for chemical reconciliation. We're not looking for chemical apotheosis. We're not looking for, we don't have to substitute, chemically induced feelings for real feelings. That's what the emperor, I was going to say. The president, well, it's the same thing, right? Serves at the pleasure of the cartels. Anyway, the point is that you get that country, and it's like, what is going on? we're getting lectured on cultural superiority by Mexico. And they're right. And they're right. Are they not right? Are they not right? Where family matters, family matters. Mexico doesn't allow open borders. Mexico allows a transportation, a highway, which they could shut down. And if we had a president who wanted to shut it down, like we used to, you could shut it down. But there you are. That's your daily dose of what the hell is going on with the government. You're listening to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney.
We've told you about Moses Hadara,
the diamond cutter who created the Kessler 81.
The magical diamond that vibrates with light.
Kessler's works with
This hour of the David Carrier Show is pro bono, so call in now at 774-2424. This is the David Carrier Show.
Welcome back to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney, and you have found the place where we talk about estate planning, elder law, real estate, and business law, plus anything else that you call in about. So call in about something, 616-774-2424. Do you have a question, comment, or concern about wills, trusts, or probate? If you're wondering, how do we beat the high cost of long, and I tell you what, we're seeing stuff I didn't think we'd see. We're at the point right now, and this was 2 weeks ago. I've said this before, so, catch up, right? We've got one of the local long-term care facilities, they're up to $550 a day. $550 a day. That's the basic rate. $550 a day for the skilled care. Yeah, and that's not a respirator. I mean, it used to be, you could get there with a respirator or, blah, blah, blah. I mean, there used to be ways to get there, right? But they weren't, it wasn't what you expect normal people to do, regular folks, right? Well, now that's kind of the regular charge. That's on the, on the, what do you call it, on the rate sheet there. And of course, if you're paying $550 a day, if you don't think they're going to find a way to get another $50 a day out of you, well, go to a hotel. And the resort charge alone. There you are. And so, so now we're looking at $18,000 a month. You didn't believe me when I said it was 12. You didn't believe me when I said it was 15. Well, now we're good. Good for you. Now we're up to. Now it's a very nice place. $18,000 a month. Very nice place. I'm not saying it's not a nice place. Super place. Very nice place. All right. But we're at a point right now where you get to choose. Let's see. If I'm going to a skilled nursing facility, my mom or dad needs skilled nursing care, not assisted living. Although you can pay $13,000 a month for memory care at a very, very nice facility. There's a whole brand new chain of them here. They're, really like the mission that they have, all the rest of it. But we're not doing an advertisement for those guys. But anyway, the point is, it's $13,000 a month for the assisted living with memory care. So you don't even have to do skilled. And this was like a year ago. We had that client. Had to switch them over to skilled care. Guess what? Same price, pretty much. Anyway, the point is, this stuff is expensive. I don't know if you figured that one out. It takes a lot of Easter eggs to, pay the long-term care bill. So it does get, it gets pricey. I'm just saying. So if you have a question about how do you handle that without going broke, and you don't have to go broke. You don't have to. You don't have to. Anyway, 616-774-2424. That's 616-774-2424. We'll get your question, comment, or concern on the air. How do I pay for the high cost of long-term care? Is it possible? Is it even possible to do that? Well, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. There's only, thousands of people been doing it. But that's the way it works. And now we've got more and more folks who've been doing the kind of planning that we do, right? So, and as a consequence, instead of, and this can get misunderstood, right? Like last week, we had without getting into details, we got into, well, some details, I guess. Otherwise, it's not a good story, is it? Anyway, the bank manager says, "Ooh, why are you paying so much to our client? You know, who's going to pay the fee to get the, long-term care thing done, because the bank manager only knows that our client has so much on deposit at that particular bank, and so as a consequence, now the client's like, oh, these guys are charging me too much. I'm going to go with the bargain basement guys. So, and probably that's going to happen, but the issue is what the bank manager didn't know, or the teller, whoever it was they talked to, um, was that because of the plan that's been in place now for uh, a- um for long enough, let me let me put it that way, long enough. I don't want to identify anybody here. Anyway, the plan has been, we already took like $1 million off the table. All right. And this is the last bits. This is the end of a many year plan, right? To, because that's why we do these things, because you can foresee this. This is not rocket science. If you make it to 80, if you're in your 80s, you're going into long-term care. It's almost a 1-to-1. Now, we don't want that, because we'd much rather you stay at home, which is why we support the PACE program, PACE, Program of All-Inclusive Care, for the elderly, to keep people at home just as long as we possibly can. But sometimes that's not possible anymore. Right? It's just not. But there's so much misunderstanding out there that now I got a bank manager giving legal advice. That's that's a risky proposition. And here's the thing, if you're being told you're being ripped off by a lawyer, oh my God, that's like oh yeah, tell me that night follows day, right? I mean, of course we're ripping you off. Of course, it's terrible. And it's like, we saved 99.5% of what you've got. 99.5% of what you've got is secure, right? And will be at the end of this, and you'll get the care, and it'll go smoothly, because we've done it thousands of times before, and blah 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 blah. And and it all gets blown up when usually it's the brother-in-law. I'm just to say, usually it's the brother-in-law who kind of doesn't understand what's going on and gives the free advice, right? Because you don't, and that was the thing. They had a small deposit at this one bank, right? And most of the money is somewhere else. They don't even know what's going on. They don't know what's going on. But when the bank manager says, "Oh, you're getting ripped off," that Dave Carrier, he's terrible. It's it's like, what, what, what? It, it, at the end of the day, you're kind of speechless. It's like, what about everything else? And that the person they sent over, the guy that they sent him to, doesn't do this stuff, has no idea what's going on, probably, and fine, bollocks it up, and then, you know, you know. But at this point, there it is. So my point is that if you're going down this path, right? If you're looking at long-term care, what have you, look, it doesn't hurt to call, right? It's free to call, even if you haven't done a plan with us. It's free to call. But an awful lot of what you hear is just nonsense. And there's no, it'd be nice if it were true. I think we figured out the least expensive possible way of doing it, which is the new model. You've heard me talk about the Red Wagon Club and all that. The new model is, okay, rather than to set it up. See, when the time comes, okay, we're dealing with 5-year audits now. 5-year audits. You know what that means? That means I got to find every bank statement you got, and I got to go back over the last 5 years, right? To explain, to substantiate, to justify why you're qualified. Okay, but that's no problem, because we kept the records from the time you set up your, so from the time we did this, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. But, and it's a small fraction, frankly, of what you'd pay to those guys. I mean, you're talking 1%, 0.5%, oh, but someone else will do it for cheaper, yeah, well, somebody else doesn't understand what the whole plan was, why this is safe. It's not safe with those. Anyway, that's what I see. This is my pity party. Pity party for David. It's like, oh, but the thing that grinds you is you see a plan that has come together over the years, right? And now we're at the finish line, and now all we have to do, we got the last, 30 yards to make it. right? And if you don't make it the last 30 yards, all the training, all the prep, all the everything else doesn't matter. Okay, you got to get across that finish line, and you got to do it correctly. You can't, the rest of it doesn't matter. You got to get across the finish line. People don't get that. And then they conflate the whole thing to the last, they think it's all in the last 10 yards. You know what I mean? But anyway, there you go. Don't listen to your bank people. I don't care if it's me or somebody else. Don't listen to your bank manager for legal advice. Probably not the best idea in the world. You're listening to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney.
In the time it takes to listen to this.
David's got the how-to you're looking for. Just call 774-2424. This is the David Carrier Show.
Welcome back to the Easter edition of the David Carrier Show. I'm still David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. Now's the time to give us a call, 616-774-2424. That's 616-774-2424. If you'd like to get your question, comment, or concern on the air. Just a little recap. This is the Easter edition of the show. And the news that was too good to check, but when I checked it out, it was true, is that the White House apparently has removed or banned or said no to religious iconography on the Easter eggs that will be rolled on the White House lawn. I guess it's tomorrow, right? They have little races and they roll the Easter eggs around, but it's probably not races anymore because that would be damaging to somebody's self-esteem. And the point is that if you thought your government was stupid and evil, well, it's more stupid and evil than you can think, because on the one hand, they're taking the Easter egg and the Easter bunny, both of which are, in fact, religious symbols of fertility. I know that's pre-Christian, I know, but, it's been for a very long time. People have noticed that bunnies have a lot of bunnies. So if you're talking about rebirth and new life and stuff like that, bunny's not a bad symbol. And if you're talking about life from death, well, look at the egg, which looks sort of like a, guess what, rock, right? It looks like a rock. Oh, and then the chick comes out. Well, what do you know? New life. Hey, that's wonderful. And okay, which is why it was adopted as symbols of the resurrection and the new life. Oh, and by the way, it is springtime. I don't know if you've noticed, but if you look outside, things are getting green. Of course, we might still have some more snow. Who the hell knows? But anyway, things are getting green and budding and all the rest of this stuff. And you say, oh, that's pagan iconography. And I say, well, yeah, but it's been consecrated and it's been adopted. And, we don't deny humanity. We just incorporate it into, religious symbols. So are we stupid because we don't realize that eggs and bunnies are actually religious iconography when we ban religious iconography? Is that right? Symbolism, if you want, if you prefer that term. Or are we evil in that we seek to deconsecrate, we seek to defile religious iconography, but we want to keep it on because it serves our purpose somehow? Is that what's going on? I don't know. I leave it up to you. Also, Mexico is chiding us for a lack of family values, which is why we have a fentanyl problem, and they don't. Also an immigrant problem, and they don't. All right. So there you go. Now you're up to speed. What else we got going? Oh, last week was the Lakefront Living and Cottage Show, or Cottage and Lakefront Living Show, and we got to meet quite a few people who have cottages, wondering about, well, how do I hang on to the cottage? Whenever you go to those things, or people who just come into the workshops and whatnot, it's always a lot of fun because you learn. Because the things that you think are happening, right? There's always some member of the family who leaves the milk in the refrigerator, leaves the garbage under the kitchen sink, who doesn't, dare I say, flush the toilets. You know what I mean? Leaves the wet towels hanging in the yard, for 3 weeks later when somebody else shows up, all that kind of stuff. Hey, guess what? When you talk about that stuff, everybody says, oh yeah, the heads start nodding. Oh yeah. We've been there. We know who we were talking about. And it's like it's always so it's always so I don't know what you want to say. Affirming for me. Yes, affirmations. I'm affirmed. Uh in my in my rank prejudice and whatever. Um Affirmed when you're talking to people like that because yeah, like I know that's how it goes, but sometimes you wonder, you know what I mean? And it's still happening that way. And then people, yeah. We've all been there. And so, talking about how do you hang on to the cottage? Why should you hang on to the cottage? How to do it in the most tax efficient way. And the whole tax efficiency about it is really important. People don't quite get it, I guess, but um, we've got, gosh, now any number of families, where the kids who got the cottage, right? Not only could they not afford to buy the cottage after mom or dad passed, right? Not only could they not afford to buy it, right? If they had to pay the current non-primary residence, the full tax rate at the uncapped value, they wouldn't be able to keep it, right? Because the property taxes would be so high. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but you're not in. See, this is the thing that people I think miss out on. You think, well, how high could prices go, right? How high could prices go for lakefront property in West Michigan? How high could they possibly go? Come on, it couldn't be that much. Well, what you don't realize is that you're in competition not with your neighbors. You're not in competition, right, with the other folks that you know for that cottage. You're in competition with people from Chicago. Okay. And in Chicago, they'll pay $1 million for a 2-bedroom apartment. So the house on the lake, which to you, oh my God, $350,000. That's so expensive. Ooh, terrible. Right? To them, it's like, holy cow. I mean, you can actually get a roof for $350,000? Sign me up. The proof of this is the proof of this. Okay, if you doubt my words, which go ahead, doubt my words. It doesn't hurt my feelings. Go to Chicago for a weekend, okay? And during the summertime, go into Chicago for a weekend. Go to Navy Pier and the Jazz Festival, whatever the Lollapalooza they got going on there, whatever it is. Anyway, now try coming back to Michigan, right? Come back to Grand Rapids or Holland or wherever it is you live, Kalamazoo, whatever. Try coming back on Sunday, and it'll be heavy traffic. Yeah, the traffic will be heavy, but it's not that bad. Look over on the other side about all the Illinois plates going back to Chicago. Okay. It is bumper to bumper, wall to wall, stop and go. Okay. All those people who bought the other cottages over in, having a Michigan cottage is a thing in Chicago. Hemingway did it. Why not us, right? So that's who you're in competition with, right? So if you lose the cottage, your kids are not competing with your neighbors to buy a new cottage. They're competing with people, who are more than happy to pay whatever it takes because they're making the money over there. They're more than happy to pay whatever it takes to get the hell out of Chicago. All right. To have a little bit of greenery, to look at a lake, to, non-polluted now, whatever, blah, blah, blah. That's what's going on. Okay. So that's why it's so important that if you want a cottage to remain in your family, you have to do it. It's on you. Okay. If you're the current custodian, there's an ad for very expensive watches. I've seen this ad. I've never seen the watch. I mean, in real life, I've seen the picture of it. But the idea is, it's very solemn. It's like, oh, you don't buy a Philippe Patek watch. I think that's what it is. You don't buy this watch for yourself. You merely you don't possess one or something like that. It's like you don't buy one of these. You hold it for the next generation. You know what I mean? And it's this obviously wealthy guy and his kid, and the watch is for the. Okay, well. Okay, fine. If that's your situation, good for you. I'm, all for it. But I suggest that that's how you need to look at your cottage. Okay? Right? You didn't just buy the cottage, you don't just have a cottage. You're holding it for the next generation. Now, if you don't believe in that, fine. I'm fine with it. Sell it and do whatever you want, give it to the nursing home. Fine. Do whatever you want. But a lot of families have a very different perspective on it. Have this, well, it's mine, yes, but I want to make sure that it's going to be there for the next, like a national park is the idea. Okay. So, and you can make that happen. We ran into a lot of people at the Cottage Lakefront Living Show who are doing just that. But most of the time they're doing it so poorly, they're going to wind up losing the cottage, losing that opportunity. There's a way to do it. There's a way to do it correctly. And I told you about it last week before. So I'm not going to repeat it right now. But if you'd like to know, give me a call, 616-774-2424. You're listening to the David Carrier Show.
Pure Talk believes in American values.
David's perking and working and taking your calls now. This is the David Carrier Show.
Welcome back to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier. This is the what do you call them? The Easter edition. That's right. The Easter edition of the David Carrier Show. Welcome. So if you have a question, comment, or concern about wills, trusts, or probate, if you'd like to know how to beat the high cost of long-term care and, make sure your stuff actually gets where you want it to go, well, you could do worse than giving us a call, 616-774-2424. Of course, if you're out there, dying, D-Y-E-I-N-G, dying your Easter eggs, your last-minute Easter eggs, or planting the candy around the thing for the little kiddies to go find, well, I can understand. You can call me back in the next hour. How about that? 616-774-2424. That's 616-774-2424. And, the question is, how do we beat the high cost of long-term care? Yes. Well, how do we beat the high cost of long-term care planning? That's a good question too, isn't it? And the way we do that is the new model that we started about a year or so ago. In fact, we're coming up on Tuesday. Will be our first quarterly meeting of the Red Wagon Club, of the people who've been working with us now. We expect a few hundred people on Tuesday at the Meyer Gardens for our Butterflies Are Blooming event. And it's, just more of a social thing, pretty much a social thing, but it's also an opportunity to meet other people who've done this kind of planning, same as you, and, have a couple of snacks and then go look at the butterflies. I will be giving a little keynote. I promise it won't be more than 3 or 4 hours. But they're trying to get me to cut it down to, 10 minutes. We'll see. We'll see how well that goes. But you'll have an opportunity. We'll have a number of our experts there in funding and what have you, so you can get your questions answered, come up to the booth, and we'll have a couple of those going. If you have any questions or you want to share a story or what have you, that'd be wonderful. Even if you're one of our clients, you're not a Red Wagon Club member, you're more than welcome to come also. But unlike the Red Wagon Club, it's free. With regular folks, it's $10, which is half off, 50%. Plus you get snacks and whatnot, and you get to mix and mingle. So anyway, that's coming up. We're looking forward to that. But this is how we cut it down. This is how we make it more affordable. We cut our fees by more than half, because what we're doing now is we're not giving up on what we're doing. We're not changing that. Now, what we are doing, though, is changing the way we did it. It's not AI or, now you have to type your own documents or something like that. No. It's not like that. But what it is, it's the workshop model. I've been hounding at you to come to a workshop forever. Well, instead of doing one-on-one, which is extremely labor intensive, I have to tell you, instead of doing one-on-one, we're still doing a group. So you go now. For some folks, it's appropriate to do one-on-one. We still do that, but for the vast majority of folks, what we're finding is we can go to a workshop and then to a workshop, right? So and there's ways to streamline this thing. I was very old school about it, I guess you might say, you with the, in one, but the problem with that, we're one-on-one is, you wonder, well, am I the only one who thinks this is a good idea? Well, when you're in a room with a bunch of people who are all doing it together, then it's like, oh, I guess it makes sense to these folks also. So that's a helpful thing. That's just reality. You know what I mean? That's just human beings. And and so like I say, a lot of folks are doing it that way, or are coming to the workshop, and then we go to the workshop, and then and there's one-on-one opportunities along the way to make sure that your plan is what your plan needs to be. Your plan, not some fill in the blank internet exercise. And we're not doing that. And what we have found over the years is that there are really very few law firms, estate planning, so-called, whatever, out there who are actually protecting you the way it needs to go. They're not funding the trusts. They're not planning for long-term care. They're not doing, and we're in an environment right now where if you ignore the government, it's like, was it Lenin? I don't know. I forget who said that you may not be interested in communism, but communism is interested in you. Okay. You may not be interested in the government. That's okay. But the government is interested in you. And you don't gotta, you can go broke. That's fine. But I just saw again where, another article where, 70 trillion, we got to talk about inheritances because $70 trillion is going from the baby boomers to the millennials and Gen Xers. And, over and over again, that notion is called into question. I mean, is it possible? Yeah, because that's how much these guys own. That's how much the boomers own, is that much stuff. Okay, yeah. So then the assumption is, well, then it'll go to the next generation. And it's like, hang on. There are medical bills to be paid. Do you see? See, the thing is, people all, and I don't want the estate tax and blah, blah, which incidentally, everyone thinks it's going up. I don't. Now, the law says that the estate tax is going down, so it's going to trap a bunch more people come 2026. Oh, but that's so far in the future, we don't have to worry about it. Okay, fine. That's another topic. The thing is, how do we plan for the long-term care? Because that's where the money's going. There's this assumption on the part of people who write articles for I was going to say newspapers. Assumption on the part of people who write for the internet, apparently. Well, that's a new newspaper, right? I mean, that's where you get your news. Anyway, there's assumption on the part of these people who are writing these articles. Maybe it's AI. Maybe AI is that stupid. Anyway, that think that the next generation's actually getting the money. No, it ain't. No, it ain't. And there's two ways the government's going to get it. Number one is long-term care. All right, you'll go broke in long-term care. Oh, yeah, we don't want to hear that. Well, it's not on me. I mean, I'm not doing it to you. It's reality. Unless you plan ahead to get the value that you already paid in, you should get out. But if you don't believe that, fine. But that's one aspect. The other one is the taxes, because most of what, an awful lot of what we've got, of what the boomers have got, is in their IRAs, which your kids will just empty immediately, which means that in Michigan, at least, roughly 42%, right, depending on your kid's income or how much is in the IRA, 40% is going to the government anyway, unless you plan ahead, because your kid's going to empty the damn thing, like immediately. And, that's what they do. That's behavior. Okay. So you can deny it. You can deny human nature. You can deny reality. That, there's a lot of folks doing that, that's for sure. But you don't have to. And you can actually do things like, I don't know, save the cottage. Make sure the money is there for your kids and grandkids. Make sure that you yourself, and this is number one, you yourself and your spouse are okay. Right? We got a lot of people with age disparity now, a lot more than we used to, with the guys and wives. Can we still say men and women? So the men are older and the women are younger when they get married. They'll put it that way. Husbands and wives. Ooh, that's controversial, right? You would say husbands and mean men, and wives and mean women. Ooh, I feel so transgressive right now. Anyway. the women are younger. Well, women are going to outlive the guys by 10 years anyway, right? What does it mean? What is a woman? A woman is the one who survives 10 years beyond the person she's married to. That's what a woman is, right? And then add the age difference, and now you got 15 years, and you're supposed to make it on $100,000 because that's all of your life savings is going to leave you when your man gets Alzheimer's. Sorry, whoops, didn't see that coming. Well, there it is. Now you know. You've been listening to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your transgressive personal attorney. Not the other transgressive.
In the time it takes.
He served at the Pentagon as an Army JAG.
Yeah.
He graduated from Notre Dame and has 2 law degrees from Boston University and Georgetown University. He's been practicing law for over 30 years. He's your family's personal attorney. It's time for the David Carrier Show.
Hello and welcome to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. And now's the time to give us a call at 616-774-2424. That's 616-774-2424. That's the studio. And we'll get your question, comment, or concern on the air if you just do that. And if you have a question, comment, or concern, especially about wills, trusts, or probate, if you're wondering how do we beat the high cost of long-term care, they just read again where $70 trillion is going to the next generation over the next 20 years, which is just a bunch of hogwash, just a bunch of BS, just a bunch of never gonna happen. Because why? Because you're going to wind up in long-term care, and that's where the money's going. And why don't people like just do the research when they say, because you see the numbers, they're anywhere from 50 trillion to 70 trillion dollars. And it's like, well, okay, if you're one of those mega millionaires, right, a good deal of that's probably going to get taxed, right, estate tax. And if you're not, if you're just regular folks, which is frankly where most of the money is, regular folks, you're not going to have it because of inflation, right? You ever see that? This is the thing. Another worrying trend that people seem to ignore is that people are pulling money out of their 401ks like crazy. All right, you're not doing that. I understand because you planned ahead. But younger folks, they're taking loans against the 401k. They're doing hardship withdrawals and all the rest of it. Because why? Because we have the best economy ever. And inflation has gone away now. Thank you, government. Right? Because now we don't have inflation, which is why credit card debt is skyrocketing, which is why people are taking the money out of the 401ks, which is why all the rest of these things are happening because everything is so good. Shut up, you naysayer. Okay. Anyway, that's happening. What else? What else is happening in the world of stupid and evil? Well, in the realm of stupid, the White House seems to think that bunnies and eggs are not religious symbolism. Okay. The reason we have bunnies and eggs has nothing to do with the fact that it's Easter. I guess it's just a spring fertility Roman ritual or something. I don't even know what they're thinking. But they did ban religious symbols. There's no religious symbology on the Easter eggs this year. Because why? Because that would be something. Who knows? They don't explain that stuff. They just say, here are the rules. And this was one of those stories that's too good to check. It's like when you're writing about wealth transfers and you don't even bother checking on all the debunking that's gone on. In fact, because the money is actually going to go to healthcare, is going to go to long-term care. That's where the money's going. It's going to taxes. You aren't going to get it, but too good to check. So I did check out the thing with the economy and apparently with the Easter eggs, and apparently that is 100% true. Also, they decided that Easter Sunday would be a great day for for declaring that people who can't tell their gender by looking between their legs, those people, this is their special day. Yay! Inclusion. Yay! Tolerance. Yay! Hurrah! Yeah. Okay. Bye. I get it. Slap in the face. Thank you very much. Anyway, so that's also going on. The Mexicans, the president of Mexico was in town last week apparently, and said that the reason that we have a drug problem, why are we complaining about all the fentanyl coming through? Because they complained to him. They said, "Ooh, you guys are terrible. You're letting all this fentanyl through." And, and the guy said, "Well, yeah, we may be run by the cartels." No, he didn't admit that, but he's like, "Yeah, well, we still go to church and raise our families." How about that? Oh, by the way, we don't have open borders. What we have is an open highway, with, you want to come to El Norte, well, that'd be fine. But you ain't staying around here. I mean, I would settle. I would be really happy if we had and enforced immigration laws just like Mexico. Let's look at any Central American country and adopt their immigration laws. Why don't we do that? Right? Why not? Sauce for the goose, right? It's good enough for them. Why not? Why not? Why are we so culturally insensitive? We should just do like the Mexicans do when it comes to that kind of thing. But of course, somebody made a deal with the cartels. Who did that? I don't know. But that's kind of where we're at. Okay. So in the run, but it just strikes you sometimes, just how like is it ignorance, which would be stupidity on the Easter egg thing, or is it just evil? It's like we're going to take some religious symbolism that's been around forever and a day, or 2,000 years, however you measure it. That seems like a long time to me. And then scrape its guts out and then wear it around like a costume, like a skin suit, and demand respect. There's a guy who says that, the whole methodology here is to take a respected institution, right? Scrape its guts out and then wear it like Harvard. Like Harvard. I mean, did you think that everyone at Harvard was a plagiarist? Well, apparently not everyone. Not everyone. Although they haven't finished the analysis yet, but it certainly seems like an awful lot. And you thought, well, Harvard, what's a freaking Harvard? I mean, come on, Harvard. H-A-R with a V, V-A-R with a D. Harvard, hurrah. Come on. Well, no, sorry. Just a bunch of phony nonsense, people passing stuff back and forth between each other. There's a guy who just came out, one of these super respected guys, right? A researcher, what have you. It turns out that he took like the same study, right? Look this up. This is the great thing about the internet. You don't have to believe me on anything. You can do your own research. But there's a guy who used the same research, and he was one of these cutting edge, inclusive guys. And, not a jerk like me, but, somebody very sensitive and understanding. Anyway, he repackaged the same research like 5 times and sold it as 5 different research projects over the years. Like changed the names a little bit or whatever. So he basically did one study, made a whole academic career out of it. Now, and this guy's really prominent. See, this is the thing that gets me. It's like these people who are so prominent that they're like right out there, right? And they're the ones getting caught doing this stuff, which doesn't it make you wonder? It makes me wonder. Whoever checked up on this guy, like whoever checks up on me, you should check up on me. Call Notre Dame and ask, hey, did this jackass ever go there? Huh? He's just making that up. Call Boston University. Hey, BU Law School, do you disavow this guy? Why not? Or Georgetown, for that matter. Call the Army. Look at my military record. Did he ever do this stuff? He says he did. Why not? I mean, maybe it's all a bunch of phony baloney, huh? Huh? What do you think? Well, it turns out there's an awful lot of these people. It's just phony baloney. And these are the people you would think had been vetted. You would think that these people, academics with all the blah, 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 people would have at least taken a look at it. And apparently, no, they haven't. And apparently, the reason they haven't, they're all in on it. Am I being harsh? Is that unfair? Right? When you find out that all these people that you respected so much, it's all a bunch of nonsense anyway. It's all just recycled. And then And then look, here's the thing. It's like, okay. It turns out that these very, very prominent people, the leaders of their community, the leaders, right? The people who really know what's going on are just fakers. Okay. Just a bunch of phony baloney, Milli Vanilli of the academic world. Okay, fine. Well, not even Milli Vanilli, because at least with Milli Vanilli, somebody was singing. I mean, there was some, at least they could dance. I mean, at least that, that was Milli Vanilli's thing, right? They were lip syncing, yeah, but at least there was real music there, and they could, they had a dance routine. So, they're not even as good as Milli Vanilli. It's just nonsense that nobody understands because nobody cares to read it. But what about the next layer down, right? What about the other people with these PhDs and this nonsense stuff? It doesn't make you wonder. It makes me wonder. I mean, it's like, okay, if the leaders of the field are all full of baloney, what about the followers? I mean, how much baloney must they be swimming in? You know what I mean? I mean, how crazy the leaders of this thing, the Ibrahim Kendis of the world, or whatever his name is, that guy, all a bunch of phony research, all a bunch research, quote unquote, all a bunch of nonsense, right? It doesn't stand up, when you do it. Oh, plagiarism, and I'm not saying anybody's a plagiarist. I don't want to get sued, but because I don't really know, I haven't done the research on that. But it's like this is all a bunch of nonsense, right? And they just telling each other this stuff, and they give each other a bunch of money to do it. There are universities now with, they just advertise for, you can make a couple $100,000 criticizing other people. Who knew? Anyway, you've been listening to the David Carrier Show. I'll get back to the law stuff next time, I promise. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney.
Are you tired of being...
This hour of the David Carrier Show is pro bono, so call in now at 774-2424. This is the David Carrier Show.
Welcome back to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. Now's the time to give us a call, 616-774-2424. That's 616-774-2424. We'll get your question, comment, or concern on the air. Okay. Let's actually do a little law stuff here. How about that? You want to do that? We can talk about billings and stuff. I'll talk about that later, maybe. So my mother inherited a house in a senior community. Mom inherited a house. Okay, got it. My nephew convinced her to sell the house less than a year after she inherited it, so they can buy a house together without her on the title. Ooh. She now has to pay taxes on the sale of the house, now due to not waiting long enough. And my nephew with his family is verbally abusing her now. Well, those are two separate issues, right? The new house is isolated from senior living, which I don't understand what that means. What can we do? Well, here's the thing. If your mom actually inherited a house, okay, if she actually inherited a house, see what they're asking about is if you hold a house for more than a year, then it's long-term capital gain. Okay, very favorable taxation rates on long-term capital gain, maybe zero, depending on, for most seniors, the income tax is going to be zero. But if you do it in less time than that, then you pay an ordinary income tax rate, and that's apparently what they think is happening. But if it says mother inherited, that means somebody died and left her the house, right? That's what inherited means to me. Maybe it means something different to these folks. But if that is what happened, then mom will be treated as if she had paid fair market value for the house. Okay? Now, what's fair market value? Well, if you sell it within 180 days, it's presumed to be the sale price of the house for the real estate. Okay? It's presumed to be the fair market value is 180, within the first 180 days. So let's say the value of the house is 100,000, right? And mom gets it and she sells it. She inherits it and sells it. Well, she is treated, and this is called stepped up basis. Ooh, tax term, but don't worry about it. Anyway, she's treated as if she had paid $100,000 for the house. Well, if you pay $100,000 for something and you sell it for $100,000, right? Are you with me on this? How much profit do you have? I'll wait. Right, zero, no profit. So if there's no profit, there's no gain, there's no tax, there's no profit. Okay, you can't tax nothing. Now the government's I should hold off on that because the government keeps trying to tax things where there is no profit. But well, you could have had a profit, and if you did, then we would tax you. So now we're going to tax you, even though you don't have any profit, because you're still holding on to the damn thing. I mean, seriously, this is anyway. This is one more thing that that certain people want to get at. Anyway, but don't worry, it'll never happen to you because it's only for people with $1 million, right? You have a cottage, you have $1 million. It's almost simple as that. So now, now it's for people with 10 million bucks, right? So you still don't have to worry about it, right? And then on and on. Anyway, the point is that number one, mom's not going to have to pay any tax on the sale of this thing. Okay, you've been getting bad advice. If this is true, if the facts that in the email are true, then we're not going to be paying any income tax on it. But now nephew with his family is verbally abusing mom. Well, that sucks. That's terrible. And what's this idea about buying a house together without mom's name on the title? That's bogus as well. That's kind of legal advice you get from a bank manager. Like, or someone works at a title company or whatever from your brother-in-law or your nephew. Anyway, long story short, yeah, this is bogus. It's totally bogus. With regard to the taxation is wrong. Why would you do this? Are you thinking, oh, Medicaid won't notice? Of course they're going to notice. There's no advantage not to having mom's name on it, grandma's name, in this case, grandmother name on it. And now they're verbally abusing him. What is going on? I don't understand new house isolated. I don't understand that part of it. But what you should do is report these people to Adult Protective Services. Okay, because that is bogus. That gets a bogus rating of 10.9, and the East German judge says it's fine. Let's see. Let's get to another one of these wonderful things. Now, this is a what do you call a situation in another state. All right, so we're getting this in, but it's in Massachusetts where I'm also licensed to practice. How about that? And it says, can I rent out my brother's home when Mass Health, that's what they call Medicaid in Massachusetts. That's what my mom was on. And do the trust work in Massachusetts? Yes, they do. How do I know? Because they didn't put a lien on it, because they couldn't put a lien on it. And my dad actually had the house for the rest of his life, so we didn't have to worry about it. Anyway, can I rent out my brother's home when Mass Health puts a lien on it? He's been sectioned by his primary care physician. I don't know what that means. I think what it means is he's been I really don't know. I don't know what sectioned. I don't know what word they're going for, but obviously been referred for a psych eval. Upon the thorough evaluation on the said psych board, they've told us he will be transferred to long-term care. They will do the applications. That's always a disaster. Don't ever let them do the application for you. Okay. Yeah, it costs coin. It's money. But if you let the facility do the Medicaid application, all they're trying to do is get their money, right? They don't care about you. They don't care about your family. They're just trying to get paid, which you can certainly understand. Very legitimate for them to worry about getting paid because frequently they don't, all right? But they're not going to do it in a way that maximizes, the benefit for your family. So he owes $200,000. We were wondering if someone in the family can rent out this beautiful house, even though they're placing a lien on it. And the answer is yes, you can rent it out. Otherwise, how are you gonna pay the lien? But right now, I mean, what we've seen, if you don't take care of this, right, you can negotiate a deal with Mass Health, and that might be the smart thing to do. Um, the the way to go really is to talk to somebody over there, who's got an idea about what's going on, because they are not the kindest of people, right? They're going to get They're not going to compromise. They don't have to compromise. It's the government. This is what they do all day, right? People think that, it's so easy to work with the government. No, not when they're in control. Not when they got you by the shorts. No, why would they negotiate with you? They don't have to. I mean, this is the thing with people in probate. They think, well, yeah, I got Michigan Medicaid now is coming after the house. Well, kiss it goodbye, or you're going to pay the bill in full because there's no incentive. And this happens in Michigan as well if you go through probate. In Massachusetts, in most states, they don't wait till you go through probate. They put a lien on it. Okay? So that when the thing gets sold, they get paid. That's the deal. And if we don't have that after the next election, I'll be surprised again. I've been surprised before, but I'll be surprised if we don't have a lien system as they do in Massachusetts, as they do in almost every other state. Right now, they just wait for your house to go through probate, and then they grab it. So, again, incentive to avoid probate. You really got to thread the needle on this stuff and get it right. But this person in Massachusetts they can rent it out, but then the question becomes, why bother? Why not just let them have it? Why go through the hassle? Because you're not going to get anything. You're not going to get anything out of it anyway. Okay? You've been listening to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. Happy Easter.
You've made the wrong...
David's got the how-to you're looking for. Just call 774-2424. This is the David Carrier Show.
Hello and welcome to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your resurrected? No, not exactly. I'm not resurrected. But anyway, this is Resurrection Sunday. This is Easter. Welcome, welcome. Happy Easter. A special Easter edition of the David Carrier Show, which means that'll be pretty much the same stuff as ever. Sorry. I'll throw in a few Easter references from time to time. That's about it. So if you're expecting more, prepare for disappointment one more time. Anyway, 616-774-2424. That's 616-774-2424. If you'd like to relieve the tedium of listening to me talk about what I want to talk about and you'd like to talk about something else, well, call that number, 616-774-2424. And we can talk about what you want to talk about. And I don't blame you. It's just the way it is. Here's a handy tip. This is something that came up last week, and I promise I will get to more legal stuff. Came up last week where we had we do these long-term plans, right? So we've got, 20,000 or so plans out there over the last 30 years. And since 2006, when the law was changed to enable us to plan ahead, reliably plan ahead, multi-state, all-state plan ahead for the long-term care, that's been a real focus, because what I learned in the first 16 years of practice was people don't go broke because of probate. People don't go broke because of kids squabbling or whatever else. People go broke because of long-term care. And if you haven't planned ahead for long-term care, you're in trouble. Okay, it's not going to work for you. It's not going to work for your spouse who survives you. Okay, so we've been really focused on that. And then in 2006, like I say, federal law got changed, and now we've got a national framework. Now we've got something we can actually rely on, as opposed to waiting with chewing your fingernails every month when they come out with new regulations. Instead, it was much more reliable. So that's what we've been doing. And now we've got plans that are coming to fruition, and have been, right along, but still, we're seeing an increased incidence of that. And the issue is, well, okay, we did that, yes, and now we've got to justify it all, which we can do. And we got to show now, when people are actually needing the long-term care, well, let's take it over the finish line. Let's finish the job. And Medicaid applications are no joke, especially if you're not flat busted broke. All right, they're no joke. You want to hang on to something. There are ways to do that. And when you've planned ahead, the way so many of our folks have, our clients have, it's it's to look back and say, okay, we put all this in place, but now I have to demonstrate to the state, to the Department of Health and Human Services, that we did it all correctly, and it was done correctly, over the last 5 years and all the rest of this stuff. And they keep coming up with more stuff. And what about this? Okay, well, here's the answer to that. Well, what about that? Well, here's the answer to that. And what about this? Oh, okay, all right, fine. We've even had the circuit court deny some of the stuff that we were doing. So we had to go to the Court of Appeals to get vindicated. And now, yeah, we're doing it. We were doing it right the whole time. They thought we were doing it wrong, but the Court of Appeals, yay, Court of Appeals, said, no, it's A-okay. But that's what goes into making sure that you don't go broke. I mean, that's what goes into preserving the cottage. That's what goes into making sure your spouse is not impoverished because you needed the long-term care. All right, that's what goes into it. It's not it's very rewarding, I have to say. It's very personally satisfying, when you see people actually enjoying the benefits of 20, 30, 40 years, well, 20, 40, 50 years of working and saving and all the rest of that. It feels really good. But most people aren't doing that. And by people, I mean most estate planners, whatever designation you want to give them. And so they don't understand all the nuances. What I've been finding is that most people will do a spend down, or they'll do some very, very basic planning and won't take advantage of the other things that have been done. And so they quote fees that are much less, significantly less than ours. We just had this happen where, the bank manager says to the client, and the bank manager, he has a small amount on deposit at this bank, doesn't understand and he comes across as just a normal guy, regular guy. So she doesn't know everything else that's going on. He or she doesn't know whatever else is going on. And so, oh, that's way too expensive for doing what you're doing. And we're doing it on a fixed fee basis, right? And I've always been philosophically supportive of fixed fee so that, look, here's the result you're going to get. We're going to save 97.5% or more of what you've saved. Okay. So that's one way of it's not the only way, but it's a way to evaluate what we're doing. Or you're going to save 80%, or you're going to save, some percentage. Is it worth doing it? Is it worth paying this much to save that much? It's a way to evaluate it. We've also, explained everything that goes into it, all the work that we have to do to make it happen. That's another way to justify what you're doing. But I've never liked the hourly rate, billing by the hour, because it seems to me to reward inefficiency. If I'm stupid and I have to research everything, right? If I don't really know how this stuff works, well, then great. Then I'll build my research and all that kind of stuff, and jack up the fee. That's the way it seemed to me. And it seems to me that if I need a job done and somebody says, I'll do the job and reliably and everything else, and if there's any issue, I'll handle it, blah, 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 then, and this is what it costs, then that seems to me like a good idea. The problem with this is when you get into things that are actually complex, that actually take quite a bit of time, right? And you hit somebody right up front with, look, this is the fixed fee. It might, if we bill by the hour, it might be less than this, but it might be more than this. And it takes into account all of the possibilities. Plus, we've been at it for a long time. We actually know what we're doing. It'll be smooth. And the problem is when you put yourself out there and you say, okay, this is a fixed fee, it's very easy, for your brother-in-law, from the person next door, for the bank manager, for the whoever, to say, oh, that's unreasonable. It should be only a fraction of that. Well, when you don't understand everything that's going on, you can understand why people might think that way. So I'm not unsympathetic to the perspective of people who don't understand what we're doing. I'm very sympathetic to that. But anyway, the reason I'm getting into all of this is we've decided to shift from the from the fixed fee, which I think is really beneficial to the client, to just billing by the hour. What we've already what we've already discovered. And then I'm not happy about this. Okay. I'm not happy about this because what we found out is that more people they're happy to do the hourly rate, much more happy, right? We're getting twice as many clients in some areas of the practice billing by the hour. But guess what? The hourly rates are more, when we do by the hour, it turns out we were undercharging on the fixed fee. I mean, it's like, okay. I'm done, but I'm done with it. You know what I mean? I'm done with trying to save people from themselves, when it comes to the hour. I did think that the fixed fee was the way to go. Now we're still doing that with the planning because we can predict that and all. But with regard to other stuff, well, you tell me. I mean, would you rather pay a fixed fee, that seems like a lot up front, or would you rather have, oh, we're only going to charge you this much, but actually it's going to wind up being more than that, because we're doing, but it'll all be billed, it'll all be justified. You'll get a complete. That's where we're going. It's not a happy thing, but that is, I guess that's pity party for David, isn't it? But that's kind of where we're going on it. Just so as you know, that's what keeps me up at night. You've been listening to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney.
Prescriptions required.
David's perking and working and taking your calls now. This is the David Carrier Show.
Welcome back to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney, inviting you to welcoming you to the Easter edition of our of the show. We're just about out of time, the last segment. So let's get to one more email here. Dad passed away. Stepmother's mental capacity is diminished, and she cannot even pay the bills. Right? The reason I'm picking this one is because this is a tragic situation, right? Tragic situation that good people run into frequently, right? But there's nothing to be done. Okay, here's the idea. So dad passed away. Stepmother's mental capacity diminished. She can't even pay the bills. He did all of those things. They had joint account with over an excessive amount of money, Somebody put a number in there and decided to change it, I guess. Anyway, all the vehicles are in dad's name. Her daughter has already stepped in day after my father died, told her she needed to get power of attorney. Well, which is minimally true, yeah. I believe it is for ill intentions at this point. Suspicions of the stepsister there, or whatever that relationship is. I believe it is for ill intentions at this point. Do I, and my sisters have any say? No, you don't. Do I need to go to an attorney and ask for advice? Yes, you should do that. I would hate for her, the stepsister, whatever. Excuse me. Hate for the stepmom to be taken advantage of. There is no will. Okay, this is not an unusual situation. This is a very common situation, and it can be extremely frustrating on the part of the good-hearted kids, right, whose parent died, and now the other kid shows up and loots whatever there was. But there's no alternative to this because they had a joint account. What does that mean? That means that the wife, the surviving spouse, now owns that account. Okay. And there's nothing in place here, obviously. What else? All the cars, all the vehicles. So that means 3, right? It doesn't say both. It doesn't say the vehicle. It says all the vehicles. Getting a picture now? Okay, who knows what else is in mom's name? Perhaps the house. They don't mention that. Okay, well, who's in charge now? Evil daughter of the woman your father married. That's who's in charge now. Okay, I mean, this is not unusual. This is pretty typical. We had a case. Now this was years ago, where the disinherited son. So you got mom and dad, right? You got good daughter taking care of both of them. Had her own house, but she was over there all the time taking care of them. Well, then the mom dies, all right? And it was the daughter of the mom, not daughter of the husband, right, daughter of the daughter of the wife, not daughter of the husband, was taking care of both of them, and husband's son was such a jerk that they disinherited him. Spit on your grave sort of thing. Ooh, never, never. And after mom died, the daughter continued to take care of her stepfather until Sonny Boy shows up, realizes how much money there is, and without notice to her, because she has no standing, she's not an interested party, right? Gets guardianship, conservatorship over his dad. Spins a tale of, oh, well, we reconciled, and now I realize, blah, blah, blah. That's why it doesn't matter that I was disinherited and he hates my guts. But we reconciled, and now I should be in charge. And that's what happened. Broke the heart of the stepdaughter, but there you are. Okay. That's the sort of thing that happens when you don't have planning in place, right? You didn't mean to disinherit your kids. It doesn't matter what you meant. It doesn't matter what you told them. It doesn't matter what you thought, right? You either did it right or you didn't. And in this case, he didn't. But it's the reason I bring it up. The reason I like this one, I don't like it, but the reason it's relevant is because this is the sort of thing. This is the sort of thing that happens, that happens all the time. Don't you hate that? Let's see. I'm being ordered to evict by tomorrow, but I have yet to find somewhere else to go due to the fact I'm taking care of my mother who has the dementia and my disabled son. Not the leaseholder, however, my mother is, but they put us both on the eviction notice. What can I do to stay in my place to live? You're getting evicted tomorrow? Really? Why didn't you show up? You had a lot of notices. They're not going to put someone with dementia or disability. All right. I'm speechless. I mean, you should have done something. Right. So here's another thing. When you get the papers that say court of the 39th, whatever on them, treat them seriously. Don't wait until the sheriff is showing up tomorrow to put your stuff on the sidewalk and then trying to figure out where to go. Okay. Sheriff ordered to come on Monday. There you go. All right. Don't be that person. Okay. It's so easy, relatively easy, to do this stuff, to get it done in advance. It's much easier to avoid the problem than much easier to avoid a problem than it is to fix it once it's already, stitching time saves 9, all that kind of stuff. My 2 sisters, niece and I take care of my 87-year-old dad who has Alzheimer's with dementia. There's a girl in Louisiana that for years has said she might also be his daughter, but she never come around. Could she somehow be able to control his finances when he passes? Well, what you want to do right now is you want to go to probate court and, let's hash this out right now. Okay, do you have the information on the person in Louisiana? Right? Send her a notice, send a, determination of heirs, do it now. Or denial of paternity or something like that. Get the probate court to find out. Send this person a notice. Give them an opportunity to be heard, right? And make them show up or shut up. That's the nice thing about court. The thing about, you got a lot of complaints about court, but one of the nice things about court is they either have to show up or shut up. Okay, so if people are saying stuff, you can go to court and get a probate court, and have a finding of the heirs or determination of facts, stuff like that. All right. That's one of the things that they're there for. And the thing is to do it now when the witnesses are still around. Now dad has Alzheimer's with dementia. Well, maybe he should have said, this is not my kid. Or maybe you said, I don't know if it's my kid. Or maybe you should, if you got a threat, a credible threat like this, right? Okay, now you're going to have to go to the next step, not just planning. But what I would do in a situation, somebody comes to me and says, hey, I got this person in Louisiana, and I was at Fort Polk there during Korea, and is it my kid? Well, I don't know. Might be. I had some wild weekends when I was training down at Fort Polk, Louisiana, and maybe it is my kid. Okay, fine. Now, then you do your estate plan and you disinherit this person. You say, hey, I know that Lucy Lou down there, whoever, is claiming to be my kid. But if she is my kid, I disinherit her. If she's not my kid, oh, and by the way, if she is my kid, I disinherit her. Boom, done, over and out. Okay, now she shows up and says, oh, I really am the kid. And it says, well, here it says you're not. And it says, even if you are, you're disinherited. So there you go. Now you've handled it. You don't have to go to probate court. You just handle it in the documents. These are the sorts of, problems like this. Solve the problem. You can solve the problem, especially if you do it now. You've been listening to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, inviting you. And now, if you're a client, don't forget, April 2nd at the Frederick Meyer Public Gardens and Sculpture Park. That's where we're doing our quarterly meeting. You should have gotten your email and your letter and all the rest. If you didn't, give us a call at the office tomorrow and we'll get it to you. See you there. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney.
You've been listening to The David Carrier Show, a lively discussion addressing your questions and concerns, but not legal advice. There is a big difference.
Not legal
so in
advice.
making decisions that affect your family, your property, or yourself, the best advice is to seek good advice, specific to your unique needs. If you missed any of today's show, or would like additional information about the law offices of David Carrier, please visit davidcarrierlaw.com.
When you download the BetMGM